Usually when we talk about feeling sick or just run down, there's this expectation of a really clear, acute cause.
Right, a specific trigger.
Exactly. I like to call it the flat tire analogy. You're driving, you run over a nail, the tire goes flat, you hear that awful flapping sound, and the mechanic just points at it and says, there it is, there's your problem.
Yeah, it's a very binary way of looking at human health. You are either perfectly fine or you have this highly specific, localized malfunction.
Right. And to be honest, it's comforting. We desperately want our health to be visible. We want it to fit into a neat little box so we can just apply a quick one-and-done fix and move on.
But that's just not reality for most people today.
It really isn't. Because when you step into the world of chronic fatigue or that persistent brain fog or, that incredibly heavy feeling in your limbs when you wake up, that flat tire analogy just completely falls apart.
It shatters because you aren't dealing with a flat tire.
No, you're really not. When looking through the stack of sources for today's deep dive, and we've got a massive array of holistic health guides, clinical manuals on natural detoxification, ebooks on liver, and blood cleansing, becomes very clear. We're looking at a physical landscape that resembles, well, a slowly overflowing landfill.
That is honestly the perfect visualization. It is the absolute clinical definition of a systemic backlog.
A backlog.
Yeah, a total widespread traffic jam of the body's natural waste management infrastructure. You're just backed up.
Which brings us to the core mission of today's session. We are talking directly to you, the busy professional who feels like they're doing everything quote-unquote right.
Eating the salads, taking the vitamins.
Exactly, but you're still waking up feeling entirely sluggish, foggy-headed, maybe dealing with unexplainable mood swings, or noticing your skin is just constantly breaking out.
Yeah, your body's screaming at you.
So today, we are going to map out exactly how to build a highly effective natural detoxification system right into your daily routine. And to do that, we have to fundamentally redefine what the word detox actually means.
We absolutely do, because if you look at modern culture, the word detox has been completely hijacked.
Oh, completely. It's an industry.
Right. It's become this trendy, highly commercialized, almost punitive concept. People think of it as, an expensive, restrictive juice cleanse that you buy in a plastic bottle for $50.
Or something you do for 3 days in January to punish yourself for eating too much pie during the holidays.
Exactly. And that is a fundamental misunderstanding of human biology. Detoxification is not a punishment.
So let's just strip that commercialized definition away right now. Based on the clinical manuals we are looking at, detox is not a fad. It is certainly not a 3-day event. It is a literal, continuous biological lifestyle.
It is a series of chemical reactions happening inside your cells right at this very second, whether you think about it or not.
Right. And to set the baseline here, when the literature refers to your body dealing with toxins, we are talking about two very distinct, equally dangerous categories.
Yes. First, you have the external chemicals.
The outside invaders.
Exactly. These are the environmental exposures. So the pesticide residues on your produce, the heavy metals in your municipal water, the synthetic fragrances in your laundry detergent, even the volatile organic compounds off-gassing from your new couch.
The stuff we were just swimming in every day.
Yes. But the second category, which people almost universally ignore, is internal metabolic waste.
This was huge for me in the reading. Our own bodies make toxins.
Constantly. Every single second, your cells are producing toxic byproducts simply by keeping you alive. Whenever your body breaks down a protein, it creates ammonia.
It is highly toxic.
Very. You have urea, cellular sludge, dead and dying cells, oxidized molecules. So if you are feeling that profound lack of enthusiasm for life, that heavy fatigue, it is almost certainly because your body's garbage disposal systems are overwhelmed. They are tasked with clearing both the external invaders and the internal exhaust, and they just can't keep up.
It's a terrifying thought, but it makes total biological sense. Before we can talk about how to fix this with a daily routine, we need to know who the biological players are.
Right. You can't fix the plumbing in your house if you have no idea where the pipes are.
Or what they even do. So let's look at the undisputed MVP of this waste management system, the liver. Going through the research, the sheer scale of what the liver does is just staggering.
It really is an incredible organ.
The sources say it performs over 500 different functions, and at any given moment, it holds about 13% of your entire blood supply.
The liver is the ultimate gatekeeper. If you think about the blood flow in your body, all the blood coming from your digestive organs, your stomach, your intestines, it doesn't go straight back to your heart.
Wait, it doesn't?
No, it goes directly to the liver first. It brings the nutrients you just ate, sure, but it also brings the medications, the food dyes, the preservatives, and the chemicals. The liver has to sort all of that out before it allows it to hit general circulation.
It's the bouncer at the
A
club.
very overworked bouncer. And the primary mechanism it uses for the really dangerous stuff is called phase 2 detoxification.
I want to linger on this because when people hear the word filter, they immediately picture like a coffee filter. They imagine the liver just passively trapping little pieces of dirt in a net.
Yeah, that's a huge misconception. Phase 2 isn't a passive sieve at all. It is an active chemical transformation.
So it's changing the toxins.
Completely. You have phase 1, which alters the toxin slightly, but phase 2 is where the really heavy lifting happens. It is a process called conjugation. The liver takes a toxic substance, which in its original form is almost always fat-soluble.
And fat soluble is bad, right?
Very bad. Because if a toxin is fat-soluble, it can cross your cell membranes easily and store itself in your brain or your fat tissue for decades. It wants to stick around.
It's moving in permanently.
Right. So in phase 2, the liver takes that fat-soluble toxin and it literally binds it or conjugates it to another molecule, like sulfur or a specific amino acid. By fusing these two molecules together, it changes the chemical structure of the toxin. It makes it water-soluble and neutralizes its danger.
So it's like taking a jagged, dangerously sharp piece of broken glass and tightly wrapping it in layers of thick bubble wrap.
I love that analogy.
Once it's bubble wrapped, it can't cut anything, and you can safely carry it out to the trash.
That is exactly what happens on a molecular level. A classic example from the text is ammonia, which we mentioned earlier. Digesting protein creates ammonia, which is lethal to your brain. Your liver's phase 2 pathways actively convert that ammonia into a molecule called urea.
Which is much safer.
Yes. Urea is much less toxic, and more importantly, it is water-soluble. Because it's water-soluble, the liver can safely drop it into the bloodstream to be eliminated by our second major player in the system, the kidneys.
Ah, the kidneys, the body's water treatment plant. I was absolutely floored by the metrics on the kidneys in these sources. They are tiny, but they filter half a cup of blood every single minute.
Half a cup a minute, which doesn't sound like much until you do the math.
Right.
That means these two tiny, fist-sized organs are filtering your entire blood supply a remarkable 60 times a day.
60 times a day. The mechanical workload there is just immense. They are constantly separating the good stuff, reabsorbing the vitamins, proteins, and minerals back into the blood.
And taking that urea, those bubble-wrap toxins from the liver, and isolating them into urine to be flushed out.
But here's where we run into a major systemic problem. And the sources note something truly concerning about the modern aging process here. Because we're exposed to such an unnaturally high toxic load today, the kidneys take an absolute beating.
They are essentially filtering sludge for decades.
Yeah. The literature points out that a 90-year-old might only have 1/3 to 1/2 of the kidney filtering capacity of a 20-year-old. The microscopic filtering units, the nephrons, literally get damaged and scar over from the sheer volume of toxins they have to process over a lifetime.
And what's crazy is this decline is classified by mainstream medicine as just normal aging. But the holistic texts argue that normal in our highly polluted modern environment is certainly not healthy.
Not at all. So the liver packages the trash, the kidneys filter the fluids, and then we have the solid waste path, the digestive system, specifically the colon. And looking at the data, this is where a massive bottleneck happens for an alarming number of people.
It's an epidemic of stagnation.
The sources cite that 16% of adults suffer from chronic constipation. And for those over 60 years old, that number jumps to over 33%, 1 in 3 people.
We really have to look at the physiological consequence of that. The colon isn't just a plastic trash bag waiting to be emptied. Its walls are highly vascular, and they are designed to absorb.
They suck things in.
Right. So if you are not completely regular, if that solid waste is just stagnating in the large intestine at 98.6 degrees, it begins to ferment. And those toxins, the ones the liver spent so much energy bubble wrapping and dumping into the bile to be excreted, they are simply reabsorbed right back through the colon wall and back into your bloodstream.
It's an absolute biological nightmare. It's literal auto-intoxication. You are poisoning yourself.
You are undoing all the work the liver just did.
If we go back to our city analogy, the liver and the kidneys are the waste management facilities and the recycling centers. What if the workers go on strike or the sheer volume of trash coming in from the outside world is suddenly 100 times higher than the system was designed for? The garbage literally spills out into the streets. That
Yes.
garbage in the streets, that is the chronic brain fog you feel at 2 p.m.
Mm,
That is the adult cystic acne, the joint puffiness, the debilitating afternoon fatigue. It
yeah.
is your body telling you the landfill is full.
And we are undeniably under an unprecedented assault. To give you a tangible sense of this burden, there are human biomonitoring studies mentioned in the texts. They have found up to 420 different known carcinogens in the bodies of completely average, healthy-feeling people.
Wait, I want to make sure I'm grasping that. 420 distinct cancer-causing chemicals just hanging out in our tissues.
Yes. 420, they are stored in fat cells, in bone marrow, in organ tissue. And if you look at our daily habits, it's not hard to see why this is happening. The texts note that the average woman applies 13 different personal care products a day.
13 products like lotion, makeup, shampoo.
Exactly. That exposes her to 114 unique chemicals, preservatives, foaming agents, synthetic colors, and that is before she even walks out the front door.
And what about men?
Men aren't far behind, using an average of 11 products containing about 105 chemicals.
That is just from shampoo, soap, and deodorant. We haven't eaten a single bite of processed food or breathed the exhaust from our morning commute yet.
Precisely, which is why the mission of this deep dive isn't to give you a recipe for a weekend juice cleanse. It has to be a structural overhaul of how you live your day. We have to stop adding to the landfill while simultaneously upgrading the city's waste management fleet.
I love that framework. Stop adding to the pile and build better garbage trucks. So let's start building this routine. And what's really fascinating and kind of counterintuitive is that the most effective daily detox routine doesn't actually begin in the morning.
Not at all.
A good day of detoxification starts the night before. Because you cannot possibly detoxify the physical body if the brain itself is clogged with metabolic and emotional waste.
The mind-body connection here is, it's not some esoteric philosophical concept. It is highly physiological. Emotional stress, negative thoughts, racing anxiety, these instantly trigger the release of stress hormones, specifically cortisol and adrenaline.
Right, the fight or flight response.
Exactly. And over time, chronic emotional stress becomes one of the most damaging toxic exposures you can face. It physically diverts blood flow away from the liver and kidneys and pushes it into your skeletal muscles for survival. It directly bogs down the very organs we rely on for physical cleansing.
Mental clutter literally equals physical sludge.
Yeah.
But the brain also has its own literal physical waste removal system. When I was reading about the glymphatic system in these sources, it just blew my mind. I had never been taught this in biology.
That's because the glymphatic system is a relatively recent, groundbreaking discovery in neuroscience. We always knew the rest of the body had the lymphatic system to clear waste, but the brain seemed to like it. It was a mystery.
So what did they find?
Researchers found that during the day, as your brain cells are firing, computing, and using energy, they create metabolic byproducts. And one of the most prominent byproducts is a toxic protein called amyloid beta, which starts to accumulate in the microscopic spaces between your brain cells.
And just to add context for the listener, amyloid beta is the exact same protein heavily linked to neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's disease.
Yes, it is a highly toxic cellular exhaust. So what happens at night? When you finally enter deep, slow-wave sleep, the glial cells in your brain actually shrink in size.
They physically get smaller.
They do. This opens up the spaces between the brain cells. Then, the slow electrical oscillations in your brain act like a pump, driving cerebrospinal fluid to physically wash over and through the brain tissue.
Oh.
It sweeps out these accumulated waste products, including that amyloid beta, and flushes them down into the liver to be processed.
It's a literal brainwash. It's like the brain runs the dishwasher while you are asleep.
It is a stunning mechanical process, but the catch is, if your sleep is fragmented or if you aren't getting into those specific deep sleep cycles because your cortisol levels are high from anxiety, the dishwasher never turns on.
The cycle gets interrupted.
Exactly. The toxic proteins stay lodged in the brain tissue, and that is why you wake up with that immediate heavy brain fog. Your neurons are literally swimming in yesterday's exhaust.
So the goal is optimizing this overnight brainwash. And the sources give us 3 incredibly specific practical habits to implement before our heads even hit the pillow. Habit number 1 is a mental intervention, journaling,
Yeah.
which I'll admit sounds a bit soft compared to cerebrospinal fluid dynamics, but there's a real mechanism here, right?
It directly targets the emotional toxins. If your mind feels heavy and racing thoughts are keeping your nervous system in a sympathetic fight-or-flight state, the lymphatic system just cannot initiate its sequence. The simple physical act of opening a paper journal and writing a to-do list right at bedtime acts as a profound cathartic release for the nervous system.
It's like taking the 100 files that are currently cluttering up your computer's active desktop, the ones slowing everything down, and just dragging them over onto an external hard drive. You are physically dumping the mental clutter onto the paper.
That's a great way to put it.
Once it's written down, your brain registers that the information is safe. It says, okay, I don't need to dedicate active RAM to holding on to these worries anymore. It allows the stress response to drop so you can transition into the deep sleep required for the wash.
Yes, you are closing the open loops in your psychology. Once that's done, we move to habit 2, which is purely physical, propping yourself up with extra pillows while you sleep.
Now, how does elevating my head help clear toxins?
It gives you a mechanical gravitational advantage. By keeping your head slightly elevated above your heart, you are utilizing gravity to help drain sinus pressure and reduce postnasal drip. But, much more importantly, you are keeping the lymphatic and respiratory drainage pathways in your neck completely clear overnight.
So the fluid has a way out.
Right. All that cerebrospinal fluid washing out of your brain needs a clear downward path to exit. You absolutely do not want fluid pooling and stagnating in your head and neck while your brain is desperately trying to flush out waste.
You have to keep the sink drain fully open. That makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
And then we have habit 3, which is aimed at protecting your immune bandwidth. Swapping your pillowcases every 2 to 3 days. I'll admit, at first glance, changing my pillowcase doesn't feel like a hard-hitting detox strategy.
It does until you look at what you are breathing in. This is especially vital if you have any respiratory congestion, asthma, or if it's, allergy season. Think about it. Your pillowcase acts as a net.
A very gross net.
Yes, it collects your own dead skin cells, naturally occurring dust mites, pollen from your hair, microbes. If you are mashing your face into that and breathing it in for 8 continuous hours, your immune system is working overtime. It is deploying white blood cells to fight off those microscopic invaders in your respiratory tract.
Which means the immune system is distracted. It's fighting a battle on your face instead of focusing its energy on deep systemic cellular repair and detoxification.
Exactly. It's a waste of resources.
So we do the brain dump, we elevate the head to open the drain, we sleep on a clean surface to lower the immune burden, and we let the deep sleep cycles run the dishwasher.
Beautiful.
Now we wake up. The brain is clean. But all that toxic waste didn't vanish. It just got moved down into the body's holding tanks. Which brings us to the morning routine. It's time to physically flush the waste that your organs processed all night long.
Precisely. Your liver and kidneys have been working the night shift, packaging and filtering all that sludge. Now they desperately need a transport medium to flush the system. Water is the absolute non-negotiable prerequisite for all human detoxification. Dehydration is actively harmful to the kidneys, and the liver simply cannot produce bile without adequate hydration.
One of the sources, citing Dr. Gerald Pollack at the University of Washington, pointed out a statistic that completely changes how you view hydration. If you measure by the actual percentage of individual molecules, the human body is 99% water.
99%.
We are essentially walking bags of water. So the very first step, the moment your feet hit the floor, is drinking pure water.
And the texts are very, very strict about the quality of that water. Drinking regular tap water or typical cheap bottled water often just adds to your toxic load. You are ingesting chlorine, fluoride, pharmaceutical residues that slip through municipal facilities, and thousands of microplastics.
So what should we be drinking?
The literature strongly recommends spring water, or water that has been filtered through a reverse osmosis system. However, if you use reverse osmosis, you must add a pinch of high-quality mineral salt like Himalayan salt back into the glass.
Right, because reverse osmosis is so aggressive, it strips absolutely everything out, including the beneficial minerals, right? If you drink pure, dead RO water, it can actually pull minerals out of your bones to balance itself.
It acts like a vacuum, yes.
So the pinch of salt puts the essential electrolytes, magnesium, potassium, calcium, back into the water so your cells can actually absorb it rather than it just running straight through your bladder.
Exactly. You have to remineralize it.
But we aren't just drinking plain mineral water. The specific morning habit the texts recommend is adding fresh lemon juice and a soluble fiber source, like chia seeds or freshly ground flax seeds. Walk me through the chemistry of that specific combination, because it sounds like a weird breakfast.
It's a brilliant synergy of biology. The warm water and the fresh lemon juice act as a gentle, natural stimulant for the liver. The acidity and the specific enzymes in the lemon promote the healthy production and flow of bile. And remember, bile is the viscous fluid the liver uses as a conveyor belt to carry away all those packaged phase 2 toxins.
So the lemon basically opens the gates for the bile to flow out of the liver and gallbladder and dump into the intestines.
Yes. But once that toxic bile is in the intestines, you have a brand new problem. If it moves too slowly, it gets reabsorbed. That is where the fiber comes in. The chia or flax seeds expand in the water to form this gel-like substance.
They get all puffy.
Right. And as this moves through your digestive tract, it acts as a physical broom and a chemical sponge. It binds directly to those toxins suspended in the bile, physically trapping them, ensuring they move smoothly down the colon to be safely excreted.
It guarantees the trash actually leaves the building. It doesn't just sit in the lobby. Okay, so we've hydrated, we've flushed the liver, and we've swept the gut. Now we have to address the lymphatic system. And I have to be honest, before digging into these research manuals, the lymphatic system was a total blind spot for me. I knew I had lymph nodes in my neck that got swollen when I had a throat infection, but that was the extent of my knowledge.
It is a massive blind spot for most people, but it is a gargantuan, absolutely crucial network. The lymphatic system is an extensive branching web of vessels that runs parallel to your entire cardiovascular system. It is filled with a clear fluid called lymph.
And what does that fluid do?
Well, this fluid is the transport highway for lymphocytes, your white blood cells that identify and destroy pathogens. But equally important, it is the sewer system for your cells. It carries the dead cellular waste and large protein toxins away from the tissues and back toward the heart, where it gets dumped into the bloodstream to be filtered by the kidneys.
But here is the critical, mind-blowing design flaw, or at least the major challenge for modern sedentary humans. The cardiovascular system has the heart. It's a massive, tireless muscle pumping blood at high pressure 24 hours a day. The lymphatic system has, well, absolutely nothing. There's no central pump at all.
That is the crux of the issue. The lymphatic system operates on a very low pressure system. It relies entirely on your physical movement to push the fluid along. The lymphatic vessels have tiny one-way valves. When your skeletal muscles contract when you walk, run, or stretch, they literally squeeze the lymphatic vessels, pushing the fluid up through the valves toward your collarbones, preventing it from flowing backward.
Wait, let me make sure I'm visualizing this correctly. If I wake up, sit in my car to commute, sit at a desk for 9 hours, sit in my car to go home, and then sit on the couch, my lymphatic fluid isn't circulating at all. It's just a stagnant, toxic pond.
It is entirely stagnant. It pools heavily in your lower extremities. That is exactly why you get edema, that puffy, swollen feeling in your ankles, your calves, and even your face. The cellular waste products are just sitting trapped in the interstitial tissues, creating massive inflammation and making you feel incredibly heavy and fatigued.
So the intervention for this is what threw me for a loop. The manual suggests 10 minutes of light rebounding, meaning jumping on a mini trampoline or standing on a vibration plate. I'm going to play devil's advocate here because you're going to have to sell me on this. Bouncing on a little trampoline sounds like a late-night 90s infomercial.
I know, it sounds silly.
How does jumping up and down do something that, say, going for a 3-mile jog doesn't?
It sounds totally ridiculous until you look at the physics of it. When you run, you are mostly dealing with horizontal momentum and impact shock on your joints. But when you bounce on a rebounder, you are rapidly, repeatedly changing the vertical gravitational pull on every single cell in your body.
Okay, so gravity is the key.
Yes. When you land at the bottom of the bounce, your body experiences an increased G-force, a heavier gravitational load. When you reach the top of the bounce, you experience a split second of absolute weightlessness, or zero gravity.
So you're rapidly alternating between heavy gravity and zero gravity.
Precisely. This rapid, rhythmic shift in G-force, combined with the continuous, gentle muscle contractions of your legs and core stabilizing you, acts as a phenomenally efficient manual pump. During the heavy phase, the fluid is squeezed. During the weightless phase, the one-way valves open up and the fluid shoots upward. Just 10 minutes of gentle bouncing manually pumps the stagnant lymph fluid out of your legs, up your torso, and into the circulatory system so the kidneys can finally process it.
It's literally like manually pumping the handle on an old water well. You are mechanically forcing the fluid up the pipes. That makes complete biological sense now. So we're hydrated, the bile is flowing, we're bouncing to move the lymph. Next up is the morning shower protocol, which has 3 very specific sequential steps.
The shower routine is key.
First step, dry brushing before you even turn the water on. Again, brushing my dry skin with a stiff brush to detox my internal organs Sounds like a stretch.
Well, it's not about detoxing the deep internal organs. It's about optimizing the body's largest organ, which is the skin. The skin is a primary barrier and a massive detoxification route. The technique is taking a natural bristle brush and sweeping it over your dry skin in long, firm strokes. And you must always, always move from your extremities toward your heart,
Why specifically toward the heart?
because that is the direction the lymphatic fluid needs to flow to re-enter the bloodstream at the subclavian veins, which are near your collarbones. If you brush away from the heart, you are pushing fluid against those one-way valves, which actually damages them.
Oh, well, so you have to go with the grain.
Exactly. By brushing toward the heart, you are doing two critical things. First, you are physically exfoliating and sweeping away the layer of dead skin cells and dried sweat, which physically unclogs your pores so you can sweat effectively later in the day. Second, you are providing surface-level mechanical stimulation to the millions of tiny, superficial lymphatic capillaries that lie just millimeters beneath the surface of the skin.
Okay, so brush toward the heart, unclog the pores, stimulate the surface lymph. Then you get in the shower, wash off those dead cells with warm water. But the true biological hack happens at the very end of the shower. Step 2 is the 90-second cold finish.
This is a textbook application of mild hormetic stress.
Hormetic stress?
Yes, hormesis is the concept that a brief, manageable stressor makes the organism stronger. When you are standing in warm water, your blood vessels are dilated and blood is pooling near the surface of the skin. When you abruptly switch the water to freezing cold for the final 90 seconds, you trigger an immediate, shocking physiological response. Your blood vessels undergo rapid vasoconstriction. They clamp down instantly.
It forcefully drives all that blood away from the surface and shunts it deep into your core to protect your vital organs. It's a survival mechanism.
Exactly. It aggressively activates your sympathetic nervous system. It forces a massive rush of blood through the liver and kidneys. And then, when you step out of the shower into the warm air, those vessels rapidly dilate again, creating a massive, fresh flush of oxygenated blood surging back through the entire body. It clears mental fog faster than a double shot of espresso.
Which brings us to the third and final shower habit, and this links directly back to that terrifying statistic you mentioned earlier about the 114 chemicals women apply daily. Step 3 is ruthlessly upgrading your skincare. Think about what we just did. You dry brushed to strip away dead skin, you opened the pores with warm water, and you supercharged the local blood circulation with the cold contrast. Your skin is primed like a sponge.
It will absorb anything.
The absolute worst, most self-defeating thing you could do in that moment is slather yourself in a commercial lotion packed with synthetic fragrances and parabens.
Whatever you put on your skin under those conditions is going to be absorbed almost immediately into your capillary beds, entering the bloodstream directly. And critically, it completely bypasses the liver's initial filtration.
Wait, it skips the liver.
Yes. When you eat a toxin, it goes through the digestive tract, and the liver gets the first pass at it to neutralize it. When you rub a toxin into your skin, it circulates through your entire body, reaching your brain and organs before the liver ever even sees it.
You are effectively mainlining those chemical preservatives. That is wild to think about.
It is. So the protocol is non-negotiable here. You must switch your body wash, your deodorants, and moisturizers to products that are EWG verified. The Environmental Working Group tests these products to ensure they are entirely free of endocrine-disrupting parabens, the phthalates, and undisclosed synthetic fragrances. You have to stop pushing toxins into the newly cleaned pores.
Let's zoom out and look at what we've accomplished in just the first hour of the day. We woke up with a brain cleared by the lymphatic system. We drank mineralized water to hydrate the cells, added lemon to flush the liver bile, and chia seeds to sweep the gut. We jumped on a rebounder to mechanically pump the stagnant lymph. We dry brushed the skin, pumped our vascular system with cold water, and moisturized with clean, non-toxic products. The machine is fully primed and humming.
It's an incredible start.
This naturally transitions us into the fuel we use to sustain this. Because now that the pipes are clear, what are you putting into the machine to keep the liver enzymes firing at peak capacity throughout a stressful workday? Let's talk about dietary defense and afternoon flow.
Food is not just calories. Food is chemical information. Specific compounds in food provide direct biochemical instructions to your detoxification pathways, essentially telling the liver to ramp up its activity.
Looking at the superfoods highlighted in the literature, the absolute undisputed kings of liver detox are the cruciferous vegetables. We are talking about broccoli, kale, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower. I know we're all told to eat our greens, but there's a very specific chemical reason for this.
Yes, these vegetables contain a powerful sulfur-based compound called glucoraphanin, and when you chew it, it converts into a molecule called sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is legendary in the world of nutritional biochemistry for its profound, almost miraculous detoxification effects.
What does it actually do?
It acts as a signaling molecule that goes straight to the liver and actively induces the production of phase 2 detoxification enzymes. It literally forces your liver to build more of the machinery required to neutralize carcinogens.
The sources provided a study on this that I had to read 3 times to believe. It looked at the consumption of cooked meat. We know that when you grill or char meat, the high heat creates these compounds called heterocyclic aromatic amines, or HCAs, which are well-documented potent carcinogens.
They are highly reactive and damage your DNA.
Right. But the clinical study showed that if a person eats broccoli or Brussels sprouts at the same time as that charred meat, the levels of those HCAs circulating in their body dramatically plummet. The vegetables actively cancel out the carcinogens from the meat.
That is the power of sulforaphane upregulating the liver's processing speed. But the most impressive part of that data wasn't just the immediate effect, it was the residual tail. The text noted that if you eat a large serving of cruciferous vegetables, the liver-boosting, cancer-clearing effect actually lasts for up to 2 whole weeks.
2 weeks of upgraded, supercharged liver capacity just from eating a side of Brussels sprouts with your steak. That is an unbelievable return on investment for your biology.
It's incredible leverage.
The next superfood heavily emphasized is beets. Now, I know endurance athletes drink beet juice to improve their stamina, but how exactly does it facilitate detoxification?
It comes down to vascular dilation and hemodynamics. Beets are incredibly rich in naturally occurring and nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator. It causes the smooth muscle in your blood vessels to relax, widening the vessels and allowing a massive increase in blood flow throughout the entire body.
Including the blood flow to our water treatment plant, the kidneys.
Exactly. The sources cite an animal study that demonstrated something remarkable. Consuming beetroot juice improved blood flow specifically to the kidneys by up to 26%. Remember our earlier math, the kidneys are filtering half a cup of blood a minute. If you can naturally widen those vessels and deliver 26% more blood to the nephrons every single minute, you are dramatically mechanically improving the kidney's sheer physical capacity to filter waste out of your system.
It's like expanding a 2-lane highway into a 4-lane highway. The traffic just clears so much faster. The texts also list a few other heavy hitters to incorporate into your meals. Carrots for antioxidant support, garlic, which the manuals specifically highlight for its strong antiparasitic properties, helping to kill off microbial overgrowths in the gut, and then there is cilantro.
Cilantro is fascinating because it acts as a natural biological chelator.
A chelator, what does that mean?
Chelation is a chemical process where a molecule physically grabs hold of a heavy metal ion like lead, mercury, or aluminum, binds to it tightly, and pulls it out of the soft tissues and the bloodstream so the body can excrete it. Cilantro is remarkably effective at this.
Okay, so let's picture the workday. You've just eaten your lunch. You had a big salad with kale, shaved beets, carrots, some grilled chicken, and a heavy sprinkle of fresh cilantro. You feel energized, your liver is upregulated. But here is the critical, absolute make-or-break post-meal habit. For the love of your digestive system, do not eat that salad and immediately slump back over your keyboard, hunching your stomach.
Your physical posture after you consume a meal absolutely dictates how effectively your body will process that food and move the waste. The protocol explicitly states that after eating, you must either sit perfectly, rigidly upright, or ideally, take a gentle 10 to 15-minute walk.
I want to unpack the biological why behind this, because it introduces one of the most elegant concepts from the reading, the migrating motor complex, or the MMC.
The MMC is a marvel of the human gut. It is a highly coordinated, rhythmic, wave-like muscle contraction that slowly moves from your stomach all the way down through your small intestine. It operates primarily between meals. Its entire dedicated job is to sweep out the leftover food particles, the sloughed-off cells, the bacteria, and the gas, constantly pushing it downward toward the colon.
I visualize this like a street sweeper truck. Imagine a massive parade just finished moving down Main Street. There's confetti, trash, and debris everywhere. The MMC is the giant street sweeper truck that slowly, methodically drives down the avenue, pushing all that leftover garbage into the storm drains so the street is clean for the next day.
That analogy is spot on. But here's the physical reality. The stomach and intestines need actual physical space inside your abdominal cavity to execute those muscular contractions effectively. If you eat a meal, filling the stomach, and then you immediately hunch forward over a desk, you are physically compressing your entire abdominal cavity.
You've essentially parked a giant concrete barricade right in front of the street sweeper. It can't move forward. The sweeping stops. And if the MMC stops, that partially digested food and bacteria just sit there in the small intestine.
Yeah.
They stagnate, they ferment, they produce huge amounts of bloating and gas, and the toxins we are trying to eliminate are granted the time to get reabsorbed.
Right. It's a disaster for the gut.
So stand up, take a 10-minute walk around the office building, keep your torso elongated, and let the street sweeper do its job.
It is a completely free, incredibly simple mechanical habit that profoundly prevents the accumulation of daily toxic load.
We are moving through the afternoon now. The workday is wrapping up. As we commute home and transition into the evening, we are constantly bombarded by invisible environmental stressors. This brings us to environmental defense and the evening wind down. We've talked about the skin and the gut, but we have to address the lungs. The sources say we breathe roughly 10,000 liters of air every single day.
10,000 liters. And the reality is we are not standing on a pristine mountain peak. We spend 90% of our lives indoors, breathing highly recycled, stagnant air.
And the research is clear that indoor air quality is often significantly worse, sometimes 5 to 10 times more polluted than outdoor city air. We are constantly inhaling dust mites, pet dander, mold spores, volatile organic compounds off-gassing from our carpets and furniture. We have the chemical fallout from synthetic cleaning supplies, plug-in air fresheners, and, depending on the age of the building, potentially microscopic asbestos fibers. Your lungs are acting as a massive primary filter for all of this particulate matter.
But the lungs are not defenseless. They have a brilliant built-in mechanism to handle this called the mucociliary escalator.
The mucociliary escalator. It sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel, but it's real biology. How does it work?
The entire inner lining of your respiratory tract, from your nose down deep into your bronchi, is coated in a sticky layer of mucus. The sole purpose of this mucus is to act like flypaper, trapping all those incoming dust particles, mold spores, and chemical toxins. Beneath this mucus layer are millions of microscopic hair-like projections called cilia. These cilia constantly beat in a highly coordinated upward sweeping motion. They are literally an escalator, constantly pushing that toxin-trapping mucus up and out of the deep lungs, moving it toward the throat.
Going up the escalator, and then what happens? We just cough it out.
You either cough it out, you blow it out into a tissue, or, much more commonly, it reaches the back of your throat and you unconsciously swallow it. Once you swallow it, the powerful acids in your stomach neutralize the pathogens, and your digestive system safely handles the disposal of the toxins.
So the key habit here is to relentlessly protect that escalator from getting overloaded and breaking down. The sources recommend taking control of your indoor environment. Use a high-quality HEPA air purifier in your bedroom and office. Form the habit of opening your windows for at least 10 minutes a day to flush the stagnant air. And most importantly, ruthlessly eliminate the sources of indoor toxins.
Throughout the plugins.
Exactly. Ditch the synthetic plug-in air fresheners and scented candles. They are just dispersing phthalates right into your air. Avoid products packaged with BPA, like the linings of canned foods, or even handling thermal store receipts, which easily absorb through the skin.
By proactively controlling your indoor air quality, you are vastly reducing the sheer volume of particulate matter the mucociliary escalator has to sweep up. You are conserving your body's energy for deeper detox.
Now let's look at the physical habits for the evening. We talked about how the skin absorbs things, but it's also a massive exit route. We need to talk about detoxing through sweat.
Sweating is an incredibly efficient secondary exit pathway that takes a massive burden off the kidneys and liver. The protocol highly suggests utilizing an infrared sauna if you have access to one, or simply going for a brisk, sweat-inducing evening walk or jog. Sweating is specifically and uniquely effective at eliminating lipid-soluble or fat-soluble toxins and heavy metals that the kidneys struggle to filter out of the water-based blood.
So you've sweated out the heavy metals, you've showered. Now we need to actively wind down the nervous system because, as we established with the glymphatic system earlier, stress halts detoxification entirely. The evening stress relief habits detailed in our sources are not just about feeling relaxed, they are highly mechanical.
They focus on mechanical manipulation and sensory downregulation. Getting a therapeutic massage, ideally using essential oils like peppermint or citrus, is highly recommended. Not only does the scent lower cortisol levels, but the deep physical kneading of the muscle tissues acts as a powerful manual pump for the lymphatic fluid we discussed earlier. It literally squeezes the day's accumulated waste out of the muscles.
But assuming we don't all have a personal massage therapist on standby every night, the alternative is yoga. But the text doesn't just say do yoga. It specifically highlights twisting poses. Why are twists so crucial for detox?
Think of your internal organs, particularly your liver and your ascending and descending colon, like thick, fluid-filled sponges. When you go into a deep abdominal twisting pose, you are physically compressing those organs. You are literally wringing the sponge out, temporarily restricting the local blood flow and squeezing out the stagnant venous blood.
And then when you untwist,
When you release the twist and untangle your body, a massive rush of fresh, highly oxygenated arterial blood floods back into the organ. It is a profound mechanical flush that stimulates liver function and intestinal motility. They also strongly recommend the bridge pose, where you lie on your back and elevate your hips above your heart. That utilizes gravity to let all the lymphatic fluid that pooled in your legs during the day drain back toward your thoracic duct.
speaking of manipulating blood flow, there is a fascinating symptom relief hack buried in these sources that perfectly illustrates how we can use physics to control our physiology. Let's say all the tension from the workday culminates in a blinding, pounding migraine in the late afternoon. Instead of reaching for a pill, what is the thermodynamic protocol?
The hack utilizes contrast thermodynamics. The very first sign of a migraine, you take an ice pack or a bag of frozen peas and place it directly on the back of your neck or your forehead. Simultaneously, you draw a basin of water that is as hot as you can comfortably tolerate, and you soak your hands and your feet in it.
Let's analyze the engineering of that. Ice cold on the head, burning hot on the extremities. What is that physically doing to the blood?
A tension migraine almost always involves the severe dilation and pooling of congested, stagnant blood vessels in the head. It's a pressure problem. The cold pack on your neck causes immediate severe vasoconstriction. It forcefully shrinks the blood vessels in your head, literally squeezing the throbbing pressure out. Meanwhile, the hot water on your hands and feet causes massive vasodilation in your extremities. The blood vessels in your feet open wide.
So it creates a vacuum effect.
Yes. Your body is physically forced to pull the congested blood away from your head and draw it down into your hands and feet to cool it off. You are using temperature gradients to manually siphon the blood flow away from the pain center.
That is absolutely brilliant. It is pure plumbing and engineering applied to the human cardiovascular system. And then finally, to close out the day, you brew a cup of detoxifying herbal tea. The texts recommend blends containing echinacea to support white blood cell function, ginger to soothe gastric inflammation, or licorice root to support the adrenal glands. It hydrates you and gently supports the immune system while you sleep without adding any caffeine or toxic burden.
It perfectly primes the body, lowering the core temperature and settling the nervous system to begin that overnight lymphatic brainwash all over again.
It is a beautiful, continuous cycle, from the morning mineral water to the evening herbal tea. But we have to address reality here. What if a listener is hearing all of this and they are thinking, this is great, but I am already drowning? They have severe chronic fatigue, profound brain fog, their joints ache, their digestion is completely wrecked. They feel like they need an emergency reset to clear the massive, decades-long backlog before they can even attempt to maintain these daily habits.
For that specific scenario, the literature provides the advanced Kickstart protocol. This is for the overwhelmed system that really needs to hit the emergency release valve.
The first most accessible lever to pull for an overwhelmed system is intermittent fasting. Not a crazy multi-day water fast, but simply starting by fasting for 12 hours overnight. For example, stopping all food intake at 7 p.m. and not eating again until 7 a.m.
If we look at the bigger picture of how the body allocates its limited energy, digestion is incredibly resource-intensive. Breaking down food requires massive amounts of bodily energy, enzymatic production, and localized blood flow to the gut. When you are constantly eating from the moment you wake up, snacking through the day, and eating right before bed, your body is perpetually stuck in digestion mode.
It's just grinding all day.
Right. It never, ever has the energy surplus required to perform deep systemic cleaning.
By creating that firm 12-hour window of zero caloric intake, you give your body a break. And during that break, an incredible biological process initiates called autophagy.
Autophagy won the Nobel Prize in Physiology recently. The word literally translates to self-eating. When the body senses that no new nutrients are coming in from the digestive tract, it doesn't just shut down, it starts scavenging internally for fuel. And it is incredibly smart about it. It targets the trash first.
It eats the trash.
Literally. It actively hunts down its own damaged cells, misfolded proteins, senescent zombie cells, and even intracellular viruses, and it breaks them down, recycling the raw materials for energy.
It's the ultimate internal recycling program. It literally eats the sludge to keep you alive. But if you are always digesting a late-night bowl of cereal, the autophagy switch is never flipped. So a 12-hour fasting window is the absolute baseline. But if you need a true deep clean, the sources outline a rigid 3-day kickstart schedule.
The very first mandate of this 3-day protocol is absolute elimination. You have to stop adding garbage to the landfill. For 3 consecutive days, you completely and ruthlessly remove all wheat, all dairy, corn, soy, MSG, and artificial sweeteners from your diet.
Why those specifically?
These are the most common inflammatory triggers and hidden food intolerances that bog down the immune system and inflame the intestinal lining. You have to quiet the inflammation.
Once you remove the inflammatory triggers, you have 2 options for the 3-day kickstart. Option A is the gentler route, eating exclusively raw fruits and vegetables for 3 days. Absolutely no cooked food, no meats, no grains, no oils.
The biological goal of option A is twofold. First, raw fruits and vegetables are packed with their own natural enzymes, making them incredibly easy for the stomach to break down, which rests the digestive tract. Second, you are flooding the gastrointestinal tract with massive amounts of raw, insoluble fiber. This acts like an industrial-grade broom, sweeping through the large intestine, clearing out any putrefying, stagnating waste that might be sitting in the pockets of the colon and reabsorbing toxins. It violently restores healthy, regular bowel movements.
Then there's option B, which the sources refer to as the mono diet. And this is where the science gets truly fascinating. For 1 to 3 days, you consume absolutely nothing but organic apples and pure water.
A mono diet simplifies the digestive process to the absolute extreme. Because you are only eating one single ingredient, your pancreas and stomach only have to produce a very narrow, specific profile of digestive enzymes. The immense amount of metabolic energy saved by this simplified digestion is immediately redirected by the body into deep tissue cellular detoxification.
But the obvious question is, why apples? Why not a 3-day banana diet or cucumbers?
Apples are biologically unique in their composition. First, they are a rich source of plant stem cells and a highly structured form of hydration known as exclusion zone, or EZ water. Researchers theorize that EZ water is the exact phase of water that human cells most easily absorb, leading to profound, deep cellular hydration.
But the real star of the apple, the heavy lifter for detox, is the pectin, right?
Exactly. Pectin is a highly complex type of soluble fiber found predominantly in the skin and the pulp of apples. And pectin acts as a mast chelator in the gut. Just like we discussed with cilantro binding heavy metals in the blood, pectin binds to heavy metals and toxins inside the gastrointestinal tract. It physically traps them in a gel-like matrix, ensuring they cannot be absorbed through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream, and carries them safely out through your stool.
The clinical evidence for this blew me away.
Yeah.
Our sources referenced a massive historical data point that is almost hard to comprehend. Apple pectin was successfully utilized as a primary medical treatment for children living near the Chernobyl nuclear disaster site. I want to really dig into this because it proves the power of this mechanism.
The context is grim, but it is vital. In southern Belarus, following the reactor explosion in 1986, the environment was completely contaminated. The children living in these regions were continually ingesting food and water contaminated with radioactive isotopes, specifically radioactive cesium-137. This isotope mimics potassium in the body, so the body eagerly absorbs it, and it accumulates in the soft tissues and organs, bombarding them with radiation from the inside out.
It's the ultimate toxic burden. So what did the researchers do?
French and Belarusian researchers administered highly concentrated apple pectin to these children over the course of several weeks. The pectin moved through their digestive tracts, and because of its specific chemical structure, it physically bonded to the radioactive cesium-137 isotopes that the body was trying to reabsorb from the bile. It trapped the radiation in the gut and pulled it out in the stool. The studies showed it significantly, measurably decreased the radioactive load in the children's cardiovascular systems and organs.
Think about the sheer magnitude of that biological capability. An organic compound found in an everyday fruit physically bonded to weapons-grade radioactive isotopes inside a human body and safely escorted them out. If a simple apple has the chemical power to pull radioactive cesium-137 out of a child's heart tissue, it can absolutely handle the trace heavy metals, the car exhaust fumes, and the pesticide residues you picked up at the grocery store on a Tuesday.
It is a profound, undeniable testament to the sheer power of our natural biological detoxification mechanisms. Our bodies know exactly how to clean themselves, provided we give them the right tools like pectin, hydration, and sulforaphane, and crucially, provided we stop overwhelming them with new garbage.
So you execute the 3-day apple and water kickstart, you sweep the colon, you chelate the heavy metals, and you clear the massive backlog. And then once the landfill is empty, you seamlessly transition into the daily flow we've mapped out today. You maintain the empty landfill, the morning mineral water, the rebounding to pump the lymph, the cruciferous veggies to supercharge the liver, the post-meal walk to run the street sweeper, the evening sweat, and the nervous system wind down.
And that is how you permanently change your biological trajectory. We have to reiterate, true detoxification is not a one-time event you do when you feel guilty about your diet. It is the continuous, daily, highly intentional support of your liver, your kidneys, your colon, your lymphatic system, and your mind.
If you are a busy professional running on fumes, relying on 5 cups of coffee just to feel normal, this is how you actually reclaim your baseline energy. This is how you clear the mental fog and literally drop the physical inflammatory weight of accumulated cellular sludge. You just have to equip your city's waste management team to do their job.
It requires a shift in awareness, certainly, but the habits themselves are remarkably simple, ancient, and deeply human. Pure water, rhythmic movement, natural fiber, unrestricted breath.
All right, as we wrap up our session today, I want to leave you with a final paradigm shift to mull over, something that builds on everything we've explored today about how our bodies interact with the environment.
This is the overarching context that makes all of this intentional effort so incredibly necessary today.
Think about this. For millions of years of evolution, human bodies developed a brilliant, hyper-sophisticated system to detoxify the natural threats encountered in a rugged, unpredictable outdoor world. We evolved the precise enzymes to process naturally occurring plant toxins, to handle the smoke from wood fires, to filter occasional natural heavy metals from river water. We are built for the wild.
We are adapted to a very specific natural load.
But today, we don't live in that world. We live in hermetically sealed, chemically sanitized, climate-controlled indoor boxes. Is it possible that our modern pursuit of a quote-unquote clean, convenient, and perfectly sterile lifestyle, where we are surrounded by synthetic air fresheners to hide odors, eating highly processed convenience foods wrapped in plastic to save time, and sitting entirely motionless at perfectly temperature-controlled desktops to earn a living, is actually the exact thing creating the highest internal toxic burden in the entire history of the human race?
It's a striking thought.
Our modern comforts, the very things designed to make our lives easier, actually our biggest toxins. Take a walk outside, get some fresh, unfiltered air moving through your lungs, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.